Hey all, Rachel B here. I know that many of you have read the Washington Post article that I make the smallest appearance in, so I thought I'd take just a few minutes and share my thoughts on it. Now I know what you're thinking. Whoa, she talks on camera. Weird, I know. But just in case this video becomes as long and drawn out as Simon's article was, I'll be sharing a written response as well if you prefer to read as opposed to listen to me speak. But until then, we'll just go ahead and dive right in. So, Washington Post featured an article written by Simon titled "The Heavily Armed Millennials of Instagram, Gun Owners, Social Media, and a Rise of a New Gun Culture." I'm not really sure what they mean by new gun culture since it's arguably America's oldest pastime, but it's evident from the title alone that even after the months of research and interviews that Simon put into this, he still failed to understand who we are, especially since he not only interviewed millennials, but members of the Gen X and baby boomer generations as well. I guess to fit the narrative, we're all millennials because we use social media to connect with each other and share our interests. But every industry does that. Certainly not just the firearms industry, and if anything, we're suppressed. So to label an entire group or community around firearms or the tactical community as millennials is a gross misrepresentation. So we'll start with my involvement in the article. Back in July of 2018, I was approached via email by Simon, who was a New York-based writer on assignment with Rolling Stone magazine, and they were wanting to do a feature piece on the lifestyle of individuals, influencers, and business owners in the firearms community, specifically revolving around social media hashtags, the Pew Pew Life and Tactical Life. Now, while I've used neither one of those hashtags, they somehow came across my profile and just wanted to see if I would join in. So after a little bit of vetting and finding out who else they had approached, I went ahead and decided to set up an interview. And we met in Alabama along one of Brownell's Convoy Across America stops. So contrary to what he'll have you believe, Talladega Speedway is actually in Alabama, guys, not in Georgia. But anyway, after meeting briefly in Alabama, we decided to go ahead and set up a full interview and a range day experience with my family. Now, let me just tell you what a range day experience with my family entails. Typically it involves an F-250 filled level full of firearms, all sorts of accessories, and about 6 to 8 hours at the range. Sometimes even in that amount of time, we're not able to shoot everything that we bring with us, but I assure you it's not for lack of trying. So with Simon coming with us, we wanted to make sure that we had a little bit of everything. Multiple calibers, multiple guns, even multiple targets. We had steel, paper, we even shot pine cones. We had, like I said, just a little bit of everything. We wanted to make sure it was a well-rounded experience. So after hearing from him that his experience with guns was pretty much just shotgun and sporting clay, we started him off with a Rossi 22 and worked our way to a Glock with a Tactical Solutions 22 kit, a SIG P220, we had a suppressed Glock, my Black Sword AR, or as I like to call it, the Little Green Monster. We had my M1 Garand too because I had just bought it the day before on my way to the Brownells convoy, and naturally guys, I am rapid fire Rachel, so there was an Uzi. Working with Simon at the range was awesome. I loved being able to walk him through things and answer as many of his questions as possible, such as if the M1 Garand I had was true to history, if they really had semi-automatic back then, or if I had modified this one in some way. Basically, my dad and I picked up that this New York-based writer seemed to think semi-automatic was a new technology, which couldn't be further from the truth, so we spent a little bit of time highlighting history and showing him guns that helped shape America. We just spent as much time as we could teaching him as many things as possible. We walked him down range, we showed him different bullet holes on paper and compared caliber difference. Anything we could show him at the range, we did. So it was really cool to see his reaction to some things, including his reaction to my AR-15. I didn't even tell him what it was until after he shot it, and his response was, "Oh, this doesn't look like your typical AR-15, it's not as scary." Of course it's not as scary. I'm not even sure what that's supposed to mean, but it was pretty cool to see his reactions. And come to find out, the favorite gun of the day ended up being the M1 Garand. Why? Because he enjoyed the power of it and the recoil. It's really amazing that after a full day with us at the range, he didn't have more to twist for his liberal agenda. See here my 15 words of fame. To sum it up, he pretty much just throws in my name, my occupation, and that I'm dissatisfied with any position that is unconstitutional or not in full support of our Second Amendment rights. Thanks, Simon. That actually makes me feel good. So somewhere along the way, this Rolling Stones project became a Washington Post article, but it still maintained the expected overall negative tone. No surprise to see that the first few paragraphs were a love ballad to Matt Best. Simon thinks of him as our de facto leader, but I definitely see him more as a guntertainer, if you will. Something I thought was really telling, though, were the multiple paragraphs dedicated to Amy Robbins and her apparel company, Alexo Athletica. So for those that don't know, Alexo Athletica is an apparel brand that enables women to carry a gun on them or to protect themselves without compromising their fashion choices. While this is arguably the definition of feminism, empowering to women, this article states that these products are at best unnecessary or at worst a disaster waiting to happen. So what I would like is for a liberal to explain to me why a woman being able to protect herself from a potential rapist, robber, or somebody that wishes to do her harm is a disaster waiting to happen instead of a goal that we all seek to see fulfilled. We should want every woman to be confident enough in her ability to defend herself. It's just so disappointing to me that after all the time Simon spent with myself, my family, and the others that he interviewed for this article, he's unable to grasp who we are, what we do, why we share the things we share, why we post the things we post, and what we stand for. Even why companies such as Alexo Athletica or Tactical Baby Gear make the products that they make. So other areas where Simon just got it wrong were stating that AR-15s aren't used for hunting because they're considered too powerful to be sporting, when in actuality AR-15s aren't used for hunting because they're considered not powerful enough to be humane. But let's face it, if I sat here and picked apart every small detail that Simon got wrong, which were a lot, I'd be here all night and this video would be cut off. So we'll just go ahead and skip ahead. What I actually found most upsetting in the entire article was Simon's need to include so much detail about Ava, her family, and her mother's death. This had nothing to do with the article. He didn't even speak to her father, and it's just disrespectful, uncalled for, and unnecessary. Not to mention, I don't see where it talks about a millennial or hashtag pew pew. So as I said before, it was no surprise to see the overall negative tone to this article, but it was my hope that some positive light be shed on the sort of lifestyle that I live, and that Simon see the people of the social media gun community are from all different walks of life. We are men and women of different races and ethnicities, different professions, different religions. You'll find different political views, and most certainly you'll find different age groups. So while some of us may be millennials, I assure you we're not the safety pin wearing, safe space seeking snowflakes. We all exercise our Second Amendment rights in different ways, whether it be sports shooting, personal protection, hunting, or taking a historical interest, or maybe a combination of all of the above. So if one post on Instagram or a different social media outlet sparks an interest, encourages somebody to take an active role in their personal protection, or encourages them to stand up against unconstitutional gun laws, I call that a win. Thank you, Simon, for the feature. Now enjoy this clip of the New York-based writer going full semi-automatic with an Uzi.
Very good.
Good.
Keep going. Now you're out.
Now he's out.
Now he's out.
I just wanted to try if I could do.
Whew. I don't have a mic, but I have a spoon.